Pierre Poilievre didn't hold back.
3 corrections for falsehoods that they put into a single article. I think that might be unprecedented.
And with Canada's election making new rounds, this throwback clip is going viral again for good reason. Watch as he dismantles a Canadian press reporter's false claims with precision and sarcasm.
There were media reports of a terror-related event. By your admission, there were media reports of a terror-related event.
A year later, this takedown still stands as a masterclass in the press's accountability. Let's relive this media humbling moment.
Hi, Paula Loregio with the Canadian Press. Et si vous pouviez répondre dans les 2 langues officielles, je l'apprécierais beaucoup.
Do you think it was responsible for you to call yesterday's explosion by the checkpoint at the Rainbow Bridge terrorism when no U.S. or Canadian officials said that was or authorities said that was the case, and when the New York governor also said there was no evidence to suggest terrorism activity?
Actually, you're wrong. You're a CP? Okay, so CP, by the way, CP, just for everyone's knowledge, did have to make 3 corrections for falsehoods that they put into a single article. I think that might be unprecedented. I'm actually thinking about checking with the Guinness Book of World Records to see if there's ever been a news agency that has had to issue 3 corrections.
First off, Poilievre was being questioned due to his statement about a crash in Niagara Falls in November 2023, which the media supposedly misinterpreted, as you will see from his response. The reporter thought she was teeing up an easy shot, catching Poilievre labeling the Rainbow Bridge explosion as terrorism before officials confirmed it, a classic media trap. But his response was the political equivalent of making a 3-pointer from half court. We all know that the media's mistakes are no longer occasional, and it's an overall pattern we see today. When legacy media outlets rush to frame a narrative involving conservatives, they tend to be more emotional and factual. And in a bid to get the news out so quickly, accuracy becomes a casualty. How many times have we seen major outlets drop exposing headlines to issue quiet walkbacks later on? Think of Covington Catholic, where they reported a story without gathering facts, or when they pushed the anti-Trump narrative in the Steele dossier claim, which was later proven wrong. Poilievre's point isn't about nitpicking, it was about revealing the distrust that's been earned by the press through the repeated, self-inflicted wounds.
For patent falsehoods that they admit they had been made in one single article, and now you've made yet another falsehood in your question. Where you are wrong is that CTV reported that the government of Canada was presuming that the incident was terrorist. So, yeah, that's what I said in my remarks. You're right. It was a media report.
But it's citing media reports and not...
Which is what I said. In the House, I said there are media reports.
And you think that's a responsible thing to go on, to make that kind of a statement at the time without speaking?
What kind of statement?
Calling something terrorist.
I didn't. I said there were media reports.
But that's the distinction we're making? Okay.
No, there's no distinction. What I said, and I was right, was that there were media reports of a terror-related event. By your admission, there were media reports of a terror-related event. And that media report, according to CTV, unless you're questioning their integrity now.
Poilievre did something you rarely see a politician do. He turned the entire question back on the media using their own reporting. He asked whether CT was being irresponsible when they reported the government was presuming terrorism. The reporter froze like she had just been caught texting in class. The same media ecosystem that tried to frame him was now eating at its own story live on camera. It's like watching someone spill a drink on the couch and then arguing that it was raining indoors. And when Poilievre pointed out that CP and CTV are on the same team, game over. And to think that both media organizations partnered in 2018 for more political accurate reporting, Poilievre may be spot on with his claim. That's when you realize this wasn't about fact-checking anymore, but narrative control. The next clip gets more interesting as Poilievre isn't letting them off the hook just yet.
So do you think the CTV was irresponsible in putting out that tweet?
Do you think it was responsible?
Sorry, I'm asking, and I have already answered that. Do you think CTV was irresponsible to put that tweet out? Well, you just did comment. Okay. So, I just hope you're not going to print something that you have to apologize for again. I should also add, I think CP does work for CTV. So this is very awkward now, where we have CP attacking someone that they do work for. CTV is a client of CP, and now we have CP attacking CTV's reporting. But this is a very awkward issue. I don't know if there's a a way that the two news agencies can sort that out.
This wasn't just Poilievre throwing jabs at a reporter, but a strategic reminder that media integrity matters, because if newsrooms are allowed to flip-flop, correct themselves quietly, and then act like they are the sole arbiters of truth, then what are we even doing here? Alright, in quick digression, if you have a minute and you've watched this far, please hit the like and subscribe. Let's help that algorithm out. And let's be honest, Canadians' trust in the media is declining daily, as research by Barry Cooper, a reputable political scientist, has shown, because they are tired of watching the press act like referees playing for one team. Poilievre simply exposed the double standard, and in doing so permitted viewers to start asking tough questions of the media. This is how you win public trust, not by playing the victim, but by showing that the transparency runs both ways, and yes, the media should have to answer for its mistakes, just like politicians do. You'd think the media would have learned from this encounter with Poilievre, but another interview making the rounds proved otherwise. See for yourself.
The carbon tax was inserted by Justin Trudeau, not by my supporters. Why did he do that? No, but I'm just curious. Can you explain to me why there is a carbon tax in the agreement?
No, but the question is why.
No, I asked you a question. You keep asking what the agreement is.
We're the journalists.
Why do you
ask
think
the question?
I have the freedom to ask questions if I want to, and I've just answered. I've been answering your questions all week.
Here's another one.
So no.
The government's introducing
why would they do a
investment
carbon
tax
tax?
credit.
You're not changing the subject. I know you want to change the subject.
I want to ask
because you don't want to talk about Trudeau's carbon tax.
I want to ask a question because in a democracy we ask the question and you answer.
And I decide the answer I give. And the answer is this: we will axe the tax. And Trudeau can try to divide Canadians by putting a carbon tax in a free trade agreement that we already had for years. It won't change a thing.
It's misleading. Because
I will axe the tax, and I will axe the tax with delight and with passion and with incredible speed. So when I'm Prime Minister, you will be shocked at the speed with which I will axe the tax. And the Canadian people will be able to look up at the gas stations and see the prices coming down. And Trudeau can try to distract from his hated carbon tax by putting it in a free trade amendment to a pre-existing agreement. It won't stop me, because I will axe the tax, I will axe the tax, and I will axe the tax. Thank you.
But not an industrial
carbon pricing system.
There is a reason these clips keep going viral, and it's not just what he says, but how he says it. Over and over, he flips the script on the press, they come in thinking they're holding him accountable, and he ends up putting them on trial. He stares them down, forces them to answer the narratives they're questioning. Most politicians play defense with the media, but Poilievre turns their questions into spotlights on the blind spots. And let's be honest, the press isn't used to being challenged like this. That's why they stumble and deflect. Because when the roles reverse and a politician pushes back with facts and clarity, the whole media game starts to crack. This isn't just political messaging, it's a masterclass in flipping control without shouting, storming off, or playing victim. Poilievre always walks in with receipts and leaves some Canadians feeling like it's been finally said what they've been thinking for years. So when the press forgets to work for the people and not a party, they need to be reminded of this sometimes, and it was Poilievre that made this beautiful to watch. That's all for today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave me your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.